absolutely freezing here in the UK and definitely in the cave. But we're going to talk about the kind of miserable weather we've had here in the UK for the month of November 2019 and how the solar system has performed. Okay, so I hope everyone had a good November, enjoyed Halloween and bonfire night and all those good things, even though Halloween was obviously in October. But yeah, so we're going to talk about how my solar PV system has performed here in the UK. So as a reminder, it's a 9 kilowatt solar array with a 6 kilowatt inverter with a Tesla Powerwall 2, along with a MyEnergy Zappi for charging my car and a MyEnergy Eddy for heating the hot water. I'll go ahead and say up front, I have no stats for the Eddy and Zappi because unfortunately I forgot on the last night of the month to check the panels, and as I've stated many times before, can't get the information you need from the app. So unfortunately I can't give that breakdown like I normally do. I also know that the month has been terrible, so overcast, so gloomy, so wet, so rainy, so cold. I've definitely used a lot of gas to heat my house and a lot of electricity to kind of power things in my house. But obviously the good news with electricity is most of that electricity I've kind of had on the cheap rate tariff with the Octopus Go. I've just been charging up my Powerwall in the evening and then kind of using that during the day. Have been having to use a bit of peak rate energy during the day because I have the panel heater on here in the cave because it's so cold. So it means the battery obviously runs out a bit earlier than we have to pull from the grid. But yeah, check out the link below if you're interested in joining Octopus Energy, saving some money for your bills hopefully, and getting that £50 credit if you use the link. So pop onto the computer and go through the stats for the month. Okay, so here we are onto the main screen to talk about how the system has performed. And we can see here, so the system production for the month of November was 243.78 kilowatt hours. Not very good, but I managed to consume most of it, so 237.18 kilowatt hours was consumed and a little bit of export of 6.61 kilowatt hours. Then when we look at the consumption, it is mega, so 1.31 megawatt hours of energy. Only 18% of that is obviously what I consume, self-generated, and 82% of it I had to import. Now, if you're new to the channel and these updates, so the reason why I always have slightly higher generation is I work from home full-time, so I have multiple screens, multiple computers and servers running 24/7. Also, especially now in the winter in the cave, I have a 2 kilowatt panel heater that's on most of the working day. Obviously I'm always pumping about kind of 12 to 13 kilowatt hours of energy into the Powerwall in the early hours of the morning so I can run off cheaper electricity. So I'm not really worried too much about how high the energy is and how much I've imported. It's about when I imported it. That's the key thing, because that reduces my electricity costs by 1/3. And also, so I don't really have much solar, I'm also having to charge the car a lot for the trips that I've been doing as well. So if we look all the way through the chart, we can see lots of red, spiky, 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 lots of stuff going on, lots of consumption as I'd expect. And if we look down to compare this to last year, we can see that we are worse off. So 2019 performance is worse than 2018's November. So not fantastic. So let's jump into the day by day. Actually, before we jump into the day by day, let's have a quick look. See here, when was the day we had our best generation? I reckon the best generation is about here. So the best day was 20.884 kilowatt hours, and the worst day must have been this one here. Look at that, an amazing 0.654 kilowatt hours generated there on the 14th. So, jump through and into the day by day. So let's get up here a little bit. Okay, so we can see it's going to be a common theme all the way through the month as usual. In between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. is where I do all my charging, heating, everything. So during this period of time, we have Powerwall charging up. We have my Tesla Model S charging as well, and the Eddie's got some hot water heating going on at the same time. So we can see there some big spikes, but that's what we want. Little bit of generation happening during the day, but again by 5:45 we've run out, and so we need to now pull from the grid, but only a little bit. So I'm not too disappointed by that. Same thing on Tuesday, not Tuesday, sorry, the 2nd. Bit of generation during the day, not that great, and again by a bit later we are having to pull from the grid again. 3rd is the same, must have charged the car as well there. We can see off the grid and coming from the battery until the evening again, so not too bad. Again, lots of charging, lots of charging power on the car. Some good generation on this day. So we kind of got up to the 4.5 kind of kilowatt generation, and that helped us kind of not have to touch the Powerwall too much during the day, which meant we were good all the way through the rest of the day without having to pull from the grid until the early hours of the morning. We start off again, but not a lot of good generation during the day, so unfortunately we're having to pull from the grid. Okay, on to the 6th. Similar day, not that great, and so quite early on we're having to pull from the grid, so 3:15 already zapping from the grid, and then obviously cooking and stuff there. 7th, usual charging up and heating in the morning, but then not too bad of generation during the day, so just over 5 kilowatt peaks there, and we're good all the way through the rest of the day running from the Powerwall. 8th, similar day, usual morning antics, but some good solar generation, peaking just over 5 kilowatts, and then running from the Powerwall for the rest of the day. That's running a bit slow here. Okay, more charging. Terrible generation again. Look at that, peaking at 1.5. And then obviously running out again. Because remember, these are the days where I've got the panel heater on here in the cave all day, zapping 2 kilowatts an hour. So not great. Okay, not too bad this day. Not great generation, but some generation that kept us going until in the evening, until we had to pull from the grid just a little bit. So it looks like we got the cooking and stuff done there. And that's probably just TVs and kids got stuff on there. Not too bad on the 11th though. Some stronger generation, peaking at near the 5 kilowatt area, running from the Powerwall into the evening. 12th, not so good. A little bit of a splurge there, up to just over 3.5 kilowatts. But then we're touching the grid a little bit there at lunchtime. But by 1:30, 1:45, we're having to combine our energies with the grid. Okay, not a bad day here though on the 13th. Some stronger generation, peaking at just over 5.5 kilowatts, and we can then obviously not touch the Powerwall during the day, and then in the evening we are good until the morning. Whoa, look at this. So you can see we've lasted on the Powerwall until 10 AM. Then we're all about the grid. There's literally no generation, is there? Pretty much no production, and we're just monstering into the grid there on the 14th. Similar day on the 15th. Hardly any production at all, so we're just having to zap from the grid. 16th, things a little bit better. So we've got a couple of peaks, a high peak there of just under 5.5 kilowatts, but again enough to sustain our usage during the day, which means we can live off the Powerwall for the rest of the day. 17th, a little bit of dribble coming in, but again by 5:30, starting to cook and everything, it's now time to pull from the grid. But look at that though, much better. We had actually a decent day on the 18th. So obviously the sun doesn't get too high, and we start to get a bit of shadowing now, but just around 4.5 kilowatts, and then that keeps us good again all the way through into the evening. Next day, not so good again, very sketchy and low generation, so we're already struggling even there from 9:15 in the morning. We're having some power issues. On to the 20th. So we see here, not very good solar, but also we have a gap. So I had the solar installers here again to have a look at the little leak I have in the roof. So obviously I had to disconnect everything and take some panels off. So I was without any solar generation for a few hours. Okay, so on to the 21st. Again, already 10:30. We're going to dip into the grid again because we just haven't got enough generation, and we've already used up Powerwall with other stuff. 22nd, not much better. Still very weak in the solar generation stakes. 23rd, a little bit better. We make it through until, what's that? It's 4:45 until we start pulling from the grid again. 24th, similar story again. Very minimal generation. You don't really appreciate how bad the weather is until you look at some of these stats. But we managed to stay a little bit more into the evening until having to pull from the grid. 25th, very similar story. A couple of spikes there for cooking and what have you. 26th, not too bad. This must have been a weekend, so obviously I haven't got the panel heater on here in the cave. So even though the generation solar production is really low, we just don't need to kind of touch it. We can just live off the power. This just goes to show how much energy I use from being working from home, because lots of stuff is off over the weekend. Similar story again, not much production, but we make it quite well into the evening until the Powerwall runs out. 28th, similar story, charging things up, charging the car, heating hot water, and we make it through to 1900. But again, very little solar production once again. Finally, bit of sun, so we have some peak there, just over 4 kilowatts, so some good generation there, and even some surplus, which keeps us going, keeps the Powerwall not getting utilised until later in the afternoon, which keeps us then through till the evening. And then the 30th, again, not great, but a bit of production, which keeps us through again until the evening, and then we are off and into December. So that was it. Not a good month at all for solar production of my system. Be interested to know in the comments as usual how your guys' systems performed. Interesting that it's obviously worse this year than it was last year. It just generally felt gloomy and damp and rainy, and I hadn't enjoyed it whatsoever. Have a quick look at the Powerwall so we can see a bit about what's happened there. So as mentioned before, we no longer have the monthly aggregation of data on the Powerwall as to how much energy went in, only what energy we got out of it. So we can already see from these stats, not much of it came from solar. Most of it was from the grid on the cheaper tariff, which only just under 5 pence a kilowatt. So out of the Powerwall we had 360 kilowatt hours of energy, so not too bad. I mean that's the best that I could do. That was maximising how much I could put in each early morning from the grid on the cheap power. So yeah, I'm still waiting for my bill to come through. That's actually something that I meant to remind people about before. If you are with Octopus, and especially if you're on the Go tariff like I am, there's a good chance that obviously you have the smart meter for electricity, so that's automatically submitted, but you may still have to do the gas readings yourself like I do. So you go in there once a month, and if you do it on the website, then you do have the opportunity to spin their Wheel of Fortune and maybe you might win something. I've never won anything yet, I don't think, or maybe I won £2 once, I can't quite remember. But good to keep that in mind, because I think you can win up to £512 when you do that roll or the spin every month. So there we go. Thanks again for watching. And I'm hoping that December's going to be better. Already it's a little bit sunnier. But yes, I will catch you in beginning of January now, when we talk about December. So in terms of this video, or this video series, have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. It may seem a bit premature, but yeah, the next solar video will obviously be for December, so we'll do that on the 1st or 2nd of January.
Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.